Okay, are we ready in the back? Okay, are we ready in the front, colleagues? Okay, well, good morning. Today is Wednesday, July 30th, 2025, and we'd like to welcome everyone to the board meeting. We'll call this meeting to order at 9:01 a.m. The teleconference number is 1-971-254-3149. Conference ID 866-914-607 #. Audio capabilities are listen only and offered on a best effort for the public. Our meeting is also live streamed, and you can join us online by going to our website. Other viewing options are available at tctvonline.com. Before we get started, I'd like to remind everyone to mute their phone. You can do this by pressing *6. Please unmute your phone when your agenda item is ready to be discussed. For those joining via computer, please unmute your microphone and turn on your camera when your agenda item is called. All others must remain muted with their cameras turned off. Thank you. Public comment. Those intending to provide public comment to the board may attend in person or email submissions to the public comments email on our website. Public comments received by 12 p.m. on Tuesday will be distributed to the board, posted online before the meeting, and become part of the public record. You may also provide public comment virtually by registering ahead of time. To register, please email public comments by 12 p.m. on the Tuesday prior to the board meeting. Public comments can also be mailed to the Board of Commissioners Office, 201 Laurel Avenue, Tillamook, Oregon, 97141. For more information on public comment options, please visit the Board of Commissioners webpage. Do we have anyone signed up in the room or anyone registered online for public comment? We do not. Thank you. Okay. Well, we'd like to welcome those in the room and invite them to sign the guest list this morning, and we will begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. Commissioner Fortier, if you would, please.
Oh,
Thank you. To the pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, having no public comment, we will move forward. We have one non-agenda item this morning, unscheduled, that will be taken before legislative and administrative, and that is a tsunami update from Randy Thorpe. So Randy, please come on forward and we'll talk about the tsunami.
big waves.
Big waves, and
Little
if,
waves.
right? If you could make sure your microphone was on, that would be exceptionally helpful.
You bet.
Thank you.
Well, a lot of you got an alert last night around 5:30. Only those who sign up for alerts get those. And that's the danger. That's the first thing I just want to talk about, that is because this was not sent out under the wireless emergency alert system that gives it to everybody. It was just sent out through normal channels. So because it wasn't serious here immediately, and that's why they didn't do that. So you need to go onto our website, go to emergency management. There's a link there to sign up for Tillamook alerts. And then that way you will get these types of alerts, because a lot of people called me and said, well, I didn't get it. Have you signed up with Everbridge? No. That's the reasons why they didn't get them, because it just came through that system. And so I knew that. And so I tried to send out some additional alerts just to make sure everybody got them. And again, people, when they see, all they see is tsunami alert. They don't really look and say it's just at a warning or at a watch. And so that's the other thing I struggle with, is how do I send a message out and not alarm people? And this was a good case. They needed to be aware of it. They needed to not go out in the water and be on the beach, but it wasn't, okay, pack your go bag and run up the hill type time. And it's just, it's a fine line on how to get them the information, but don't startle them. The other thing that I noticed is that a lot of people didn't understand the difference between the different levels of alerts. And to make it even more complicated, the National Tsunami Center kicked it down to 4 instead of 5. And so it's a little different. So right now, the lowest level is called information statement. They're just saying, hey, there's a tsunami in India, no threat to the West Coast. And that's all it is. It's learning that something's out there, but there's no danger or threat. Then they move it up to a watch and it's like, well, you know what? This could maybe affect your area. And so, they want you to just keep listening to credible news. I'll get that story in just a second. Credible news and sources that you can trust on the information and getting that information. So a watch is just like, okay, that's like it's like the first level in fire evacuation. It's just like you're aware now, you're a little bit more, you make sure your go bag's by the door. You make sure that you're ready to do something. And then when it gets to an advisory, which we were in, it just means stay out of the water and stay off the beaches. Again, it isn't pack your bags and go. It's just a little bit more, you need to be a little bit more ready. Plus there's some other dangers that happen. And even though it was a long ways away and as it was coming, it does create different types of currents and waves that come in. So you may not see that 100-foot tsunami wave that comes in, but even the smaller ones that come in, and again, the National Weather Service said it's like a sneaker wave on steroids. It's not big, but it is very dangerous, and that's what we had. And that's what we were trying to warn people about, is those smaller waves that can come in and you go out there, because again, if you've watched the movies and everything else, you do understand that right before it, the water recedes and moves out. And if you watch the Seaside and a couple of the other cameras, you could see that happening. And you could see it along, because it was emphasized because we were at low tide, which was good. And you could see that go out, and then all of a sudden you could see it come back in. And so again, those are your little warnings of it's not acting like it should, so you need to be careful. So, and that was what I kept saying is that no action's necessary. Don't freak out. Don't drive into Portland. Don't give away all your goods. Just, be advised that you need to be cautious around the beaches and the water. We're still in that now, and you may ask why. Well, it's precaution, because you don't know what's going to happen, and there's still some little ripples coming in that are less than a foot, but again, it can cause those issues that we have. And so we're still there. It hasn't been an all clear yet, and so as soon as that happens, the alerts will come out that okay, the advisory has now been taken off. So, and talk about news media, and I say credible. I was watching a Fox Weather Channel last night, and they were talking about how Hawaii was going to get destroyed, just like in 2011. And these two people went on and on about, wow, this is just like what happened in 2011. The wave height's the same size, the earthquake's the same size, and on and on. And oh no, it's going to be bad. And then all of a sudden I was like, oh, yeah, it wasn't that bad. But again, if people saw that first part of the news, and I mean, you'd think that Fox Weather would be reliable. But again, it was two people that decided that they were trying to emphasize. So then how do you combat that? And that's the other thing, is to make sure that happens. And so, but a little about what we did here. Once I got that first alert, the first thing I did was I called the National Weather Service, because they're also the ones that send out this alert. That's NOAA, and they're all tied together, and said, what's up? What's going on? Where are we at? And they said, well, we're collecting the data. We're looking at it. It's still 6-7 hours away from us. We're going to continue to monitor it and check how things are going. Then my next thing I did is I went on to the tsunami.gov website, and it has a lot of information about tsunami. So I looked at that and checked to see what was going on. And I talked to the Weather Service. And then my next call by protocol is I have to call the chair of the commission. So I called Commissioner Scarr. Luckily, it was at 6 o'clock at night instead of 2 in the morning.
I'm thankful.
Yes. And then my second call is to my liaison, which is Mary Faith Bell. Sorry, Paul, you're just are unimportant.
I know.
But anyway, that's kind of what I do, is I try to make those two connections right quick and just let them know what we're doing, and then just say, I'm not going to bother you unless something changes. So So you're not getting a phone call every hour saying status quo until 3 in the morning. So that was kind of the procedure. Then as we went on, there was a coastal conference or a Teams meeting, and basically it was with the states, people who are over the geological and that. It also had the weather service in it, and it also had all the emergency managers along the coast from the very top to the very bottom. And so everybody talked about what they were doing and kind of saying where their information was and what was going on. And that was good because then it's consistent from border to border. Because if Lincoln County is evacuating people and I'm saying no, you kind of, we want to make sure that we're all on the same page. And so again, it was, this is a great learning experience because you see how the notifications go. And so that was the other thing we were doing was those and communicating with it. And then of course, a few other people that are in emergency management, maybe some calls just to make sure that they were understanding what was going on too. So it was, it could have been bad. We don't know. If you look at the pictures, it happened off of Russia. If you look at the pictures that happened on their coast, 90 miles out, earthquake. Does that sound familiar? Yeah.
Mhm.
Cascadia. Anyway, it was an 8.8. And so it was pretty severe. And if you look and you can see the damage that went on, and you could also tell how much time they had to evacuate. Luckily, there's been no deaths that they've heard of yet, but that doesn't mean it can't. And so that was the other thing that, you look at that, then you can see what was going on. And then again, if you just pay attention to everything. Oh, the other thing, really cool, tide. The tide tables, they're very important for you guys to go to because, they've got that little tide thing and it's got the predicted. And then you can watch and see what the tide's at because if a tsunami's coming, that little red line is going to be higher than the blue line prediction. And so you watch how that goes. And if you see that red line go like this, then it means there's a lot of activity. Well, as you're watching that, we stayed right as on predicted. And then right as, a little after midnight, you saw some little bumps like this, but it wasn't major. Down south in one of their ports, it was pretty big ones. But again, they still didn't have it. But there's a lot of tools that we can look at and come up with some more information. And so I say that because I actually do a little bit of research before I make a decision. And so that's, there's a lot of things that we can rely on to make sure we get the proper information out to everybody. And as you all know, if we're sitting here and I get knocked off my chair, I don't need a tsunami siren. I don't need an alert. I know what I'm doing. I'm just going to hang on because it's coming. So that's the other thing too, is that the distances we have that time, if it's a close one, like what off of Russia, if we're that close and we have an earthquake, that's your warning. And I wouldn't wait for Randy to send you a text to say, grab your go bag and run uphill. So again, there's, it's just making sure everybody has the right information and that they feel comfortable in what's going on. And please don't call 911. They don't know. They got inundated with phone calls. And they called me, so I quickly sent out another Nixle trying to alert to try to get people not to call because they were just saying, hey, I heard there's a tsunami. How far up the hill do we need to go? And things like that. And so there was a lot of people that weren't quite sure of what was going on. They could have been visitors. I don't know. But so again, it's just trying to get all that information out and not scare people, but give them enough information that they can make some decisions. And so anyway, it was interesting.
Great, thank you. So I appreciated getting Randy's call, and it was interesting because I am signed up for Nixle. My husband signed up for Nixle, but we had checked different boxes apparently in what we were receiving from Nixle because he got the alert and I did not. So I have to go back to my Nixle account and figure out what it is that I was missing. I got everything Randy sent, but I did not get the initial one. So I think when we talk about Nixle and Everbridge, just know that depending on which boxes you check as to what alerts you wish to receive, that will drive which alerts you get. So there was a difference. Some were sent out by Randy in our local capacity, and some were sent out by the National Weather Service ahead of that. So it's a great system.
Yeah, that's the other reasons why I send it out, because if you look at it at the very bottom when you sign up on the Everbridge, it has on the weather, you can check, do you want tsunami alerts? Do you want high wind alerts? Do you want flooding alerts? Do you want, mosquito alerts? And you just check the boxes you want to be alerted on. If you don't want alerts after 8 o'clock at night, you can check that box. And so it's pretty there. And so, of course, I just check them all because, I don't mind getting woke up all night long with text, because the Weather Service last night was sending out updates every hour because that's their protocol. But anyway, you're right and that's the thing. People don't get it because they don't see that weather, and they need to check flooding and tsunami, if nothing else, because then they won't get it. So
Right.
we want to make sure that they do get the alerts.
Yes, the other question I have for you is there's the Nixle site, and then you talk about Everbridge. Can you clarify how those play together if I have to sign up for both?
One
if
and
I
the
sign up
same.
for one?
Everbridge bought out Nixle.
Okay, because
So-
when it comes to you, it says Nixle. So I think
Right.
for the public to understand that if you go to the emergency management website and sign up for Everbridge, you are signing up for Nixle.
Nixle. One and the same.
Yeah.
And that's the thing, is that it depends on, some people are still using Nixle, but Everbridge bought them out. So if you just sign up for Nixle and didn't sign up for Everbridge, you'll still get
One
Everbridge
and the same.
alerts.
Yeah.
Yeah,
thank
one
you.
and the same.
Yeah. Okay. Commissioners, questions? Commissioner Fournier.
I do. Is there, I also, look here, and I got a text just to say, check your stuff. So I did. How many characters can you put in your messages?
Emails, I can put a lot.
No, but on the text.
In the text, it's basically one line. And that's what's scary, is that I have to be very careful what I say in that one line. I can put in a link to take them to another site that I can be more explicit with. And that's the thing with the emails and the phone calls that go voice to text to voice, that can be paragraphs. And that's where I really put a lot of information in. And I would suggest that you use your email as one of your contacts, because you can get a lot more information that way.
I think one of the things that would have been helpful for me, because I'm looking at the information watch advisory warning algorithm, and I'm looking, there's not many words. I'm just wondering if we issue a watch, we just say distant tsunami possible, stay tuned for more information. The first one is relax. I think that those would have been helpful for me to know. I had to look at which one, I forgot which order they were in
As
because.
did I. Told him the wrong order.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Like the advisory just says strong currents and waves dangerous to those very near water. Stay out of the water, away from beaches and waterways. I don't know if that would fit, but if it would fit, reminding people what an advisory is, it would be very helpful for me.
That's what I try to do through the whole thing, is start to just move it over to stay out of the water, stay off the beaches, because you don't have a lot of room. That's about all you can put in it.
Yeah.
And so, and that's the thing, is to make sure that we get it. But the feedback is great, because I understand my own text, but getting feedback like this is a lot good.
I was
because I can
confusing.
fine tune and make it better and say, okay, we've got a highly intelligent individual that's still struggling. And so I need to make sure that
Well, we also have visitors that aren't used to being here,
Visitors.
and if they sign up, they may not be signed up, but it's I feel like there should be a sticker and just on every signage, but, yeah, cause I had folks that I was walking my dog on the bay, and I have friends that are there, they didn't even know about it, because they weren't signed up for Nixle. So I explained to them and they said, what should I do? I said, I'm not sure. I have to go home and look this up. I don't know what it is. So yeah, I'm just a suggestion that maybe with the warning or with the advisory include what that means for them to do. Stay out of the water or get to high ground, or if we could fit it, but I know that it's
Yeah.
tight.
Yeah, I'll play around a little bit and see how much I do, because we can make templates to use to send
A
out.
link to this this thing. It just has the colorful thing. I wonder if you
Yeah.
could, like you said, you can send a link. So a link to that and then I'll be
Yeah.
able to see.
That was on Facebook at one point, and that was exceptionally helpful because I linked to your page on Facebook.
Yeah.
so.
Yeah,
Commissioner,
cool.
sorry, Commissioner
Thank
Bell,
you.
we're just chatting away over here, and as the liaison, I would love to have you, share your
Thank
thoughts.
you. Thank you. Well, thanks, Randy, for your communication in this. I like the idea of leading a message with the word relax. Because you're right, people don't, I mean, I knew what it was, but I've studied this for years. So other people wouldn't necessarily know what it was. So just the idea of, just relax, this is a distant tsunami, whatever, that would be helpful. It was an interesting experience for me because I had a meeting in Lincoln City. So I got the Nixle alert when I got to Lincoln City and I looked at it. I opened it up and looked at it and there was, I understood that it was the Kamchatka Peninsula in Russia. So it was very distant and that may or may not result in a wave here at midnight. When you looked through it, you could see, but it was interesting for me personally because it talked about the wave was predicted to hit Craig, Alaska, which is where my brother is, at 8:55, and then predicted to hit here at 11:55 if there was a wave, but there were no wave heights. So I got a call from my sister who said, well, now wait a minute. My husband is on the coast with a bunch of his buddies for a fishing trip, and you're on the coast, and our brother is in Alaska, and I could lose all three of you tonight. And I said, nope, that's not going to happen. So she made her husband call me, which was funny. And he was visiting here with a bunch of guys. They'd rented a house. They were going out fishing this morning. And they didn't know anything about it because they're not signed up for Nixle. So it was very informative for me in terms of our communication, like the big gaps. So there were gaps for people who didn't have cell service. I heard about that. People who had been on the beach, they came in, they were shocked because they didn't have cell service on the beach. So there were gaps for people who didn't have cell service, but there are gaps for visitors also who aren't signed up for Nixle, who were completely clueless. So my brother-in-law wanted to know, well, we're 40 feet up from the beach. I said, you're fine, just stay in the house tonight. And I said, the real risk will be if we have tsunami tourists, if we have tsunami looky-loos who go down on the beach at midnight because they want to see it, and then it's like a sneaker wave or a king tide or whatever, it could be, we don't know, but it could knock people off the beach or off the rocks or whatever. That's the real risk. So don't sit there and play poker and drink until midnight and then go down on the beach to watch it. He laughed. So I think what I learned in this, what I think we learned is that there are gaps in what people know and what they don't know. And so I think it's interesting that we're proclaiming Emergency Management Month because, we can do an after action thing and look and take a look at this as an exercise. Luckily, nobody's hurt even in Russia. Thank you, God. But, we can improve. So it wasn't dangerous to us, but we didn't know that. And people not everybody understood.
Yeah, the one good thing is that Commissioner Bell reminded me we have a county park that's kind of on the beach. So I quickly called Dan, and he didn't get the alert either. And so I talked to him and he was going to take a sign down and just say beach closed, stay out of the water, stay off the beach, and put a sign up. They did that at a lot of the ports down south. And I think that I need to make sure that, all our beaches there, that it's usually fire department that goes there, and have them not just go down and tell people, but maybe put some signs up on the way going down. And, maybe that's my doing, is I need to make some and then give them to people. So that's another way to try to get those visitors so they can walk down, and say, oh, there's a sign, and then maybe tell them, for more information or something. But that's suggestions. Yes, give them to me.
Yeah. All right. I'm going to move us along in our agenda if we feel like we've had enough information here for today. Clearly, there's more work that can be done. But before we get into a full-on brainstorm, I'll go ahead and thank Randy very much for sharing, and we're going to see you for the next like 4 items, so don't go anywhere. But we will go ahead and move our conversation forward if that's all right.
Sure.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. All right, then we are going to move into our legislative administrative agenda, item 6, which is consideration of a personal service agreement with Bentel Inc. for the Tillamook County Community Wildfire Projection Plan update. Randy.
Yes, this is an agreement that we've made with a contractor that we selected. I did a request for proposals, got 2. And this company was highly recommended, plus they were about $20,000 lower. And we looked at their work that they'd done and it was exceptional. So that's who we decided to go along with. I need to point out, this is grant money that's paying for this. This is not coming out of general fund. It's all grant money from the state fire marshal's office. And so that's what this contract is. We have a year to have them update our community wildfire protection plan. We have one that's over 10 years old and it's not very good. And so they've been working on it all summer. They've been gathering information. No, I'm sorry, that's another grant, sorry. And I'm meeting with the gentleman that's doing it today. I shouldn't stay up at night. And we're going to start the groundwork of going forward. Also with this, and I'm not presenting it here, but I'll let everybody know, is that I was also able to secure money to hire a project manager to ride herd on this. And again, grant money from State Fire Marshal's office. And so I will be contracting with a gentleman named Dave Wells. A lot of you may know him. He's local, worked for ODF for 1 million years. He also was the gentleman that helped Bay City become a fire-wise community. So I think that was another good choice to do, and he came highly recommended to oversee this. But that's what this contract is. It goes for a year. The proposal they sent was great, and Dave's going to make sure that they stay on track.
Perfect. Thank you. Commissioners, questions or comments?
I think this is great. It's important work. I'm glad we're moving forward and I'm glad you're going to be able to work with Dave Wells. Terrific.
I second that. Dave Wells is a great guy and thank you for paying for this with grant money.
Yes.
I agree with all of the above. I think we're ready for a motion.
Madam Chair, I move approval of a personal services agreement with Bentel Inc. for the Tillamook County Community Wildfire Projection Plan update.
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, I will call for the vote. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. Motion carries. Thank you. Moving on to item number 7, consideration of amendment number 1 to agency agreement number 25-007 with the State of Oregon Department of Energy for the County Energy Resilience Program. Randy.
Yes, again, I was able to secure funding through the Department of Energy, Oregon Department of Energy, to create a energy resiliency plan. It was a new program. The legislation last year appropriated money to give each county $50,000. Not really enough to do a plan from ground zero, but I've got contractor Rockcrest that's working and they're doing an exceptionally good job. We're still struggling and trying to get public input. And so we're going to be at the fair and won't let people go by until they give us input. But anyway, so what this contract is, because a lot of people were struggling and to get that public input, and we started late, we all called the Department of Energy, about 2 or 3 of us emergency managers said, hey, can we have an extension? And they go, yeah, I think we can do that. So what this is it's taking the deadline on the funding and the contract with Rockcrest ends on the 31st of September. This will take it out to the 31st of December. They will have the plan done well before that, but this will take that heat off of like, we've got to have this out by next month. So that's what this is for. It's just an agreement. This is our agreement with the state and that they're the ones that sent it out to us just to extend it, just to make it all legal.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Commissioners, questions or comments?
I do not.
I do not.
Nor do I. I would entertain a motion.
Madam Chair, I move approval of amendment number 1 to agency agreement number 25-007 with the State of Oregon Department of Energy for the County Energy Resilience Program.
I will second it.
I have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, I will call for the vote. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. Motion carries. Thank you. Item number 8, which we've had a lot of good discussion already this morning, consideration of a resolution in the matter of proclaiming August as Emergency Management Awareness Month in Tillamook County.
Yes, this is that I was notified and alerted that the International Association of Emergency Managers got together and decided that they wanted to proclaim a month as Awareness Month to just maybe get people thinking a little bit more about emergency management from the very, very local level, clear up through the state level. And so they are going before Congress to get it done nationwide and suggest maybe we ought to do that countywide. And so I thought, yes, that's a good idea because again, emergency management is not just me. I mean, that's the cities, the road departments, the sheriff's office. It's a lot of people are all involved and it's just, let's be aware and also thank them for the service that they do. So again, this is just to get people more aware of trying to be more prepared. And hopefully it'll work along with our exercise that we had last night.
Perfect. Thank you. Yeah, we couldn't have scheduled that at a more appropriate time. So
You're welcome.
yeah, I think we're thanking Mother Nature and the earth for that one. Okay, any questions or comments? Commissioner Bell, please.
I do not, but I will read the proclamation.
I have nothing. I would
Okay.
like to hear it.
All right. I will read this in the form of a motion.
Okay.
In the matter of proclaiming August as the National Emergency Management Month in Tillamook County, Oregon, this matter came before the Tillamook County Board of Commissioners on July 30, 2025, at the request of Randy Thorpe, Tillamook County Emergency Management Director. The board, being fully apprised, finds as follows. 1. Emergencies and disasters can occur unexpectedly, posing significant threats to life, property, and the environment. 2. Local emergency managers, community leaders, and county government dedicate countless hours to developing preparedness, response, recovery, and mitigation programs to protect the lives and property of persons living in Tillamook County. 3. Taking steps toward personal preparedness and ensuring households, businesses, schools, and community organizations are prepared for disaster can reduce fatalities, economic devastation, and speed up recovery following a major crisis and lessen the impact of economic devastation. 4. Emergency managers across the state are charged with establishing and maintaining the capabilities necessary to effectively direct, coordinate, and support emergency and disaster response and recovery efforts. 5. The Tillamook County Board of Commissioners would like to officially recognize all emergency managers, volunteers, and civic organizations who routinely offer their invaluable services to the community. Now, therefore, it is hereby resolved that 6, the Tillamook County Board of Commissioners hereby proclaims August as National Emergency Management Awareness Month in Tillamook County with the support of the International Association of Emergency Managers and the National Emergency Management Association. The board encourages all citizens and businesses to express their appreciation for emergency managers in every sector who work diligently to prepare, protect, and serve our cities, counties, states, tribes, territories, regions, and organizations against hazards and risks.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, I will call for the vote. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. Motion carries. Thank you, Randy. Appreciate it and appreciate your work through last night to make sure that we
I'll
knew
turn the
what we
meeting
needed.
back over to you.
Yeah, you had the first 35 minutes. That's pretty unheard of. Nice job.
Thank you.
Thanks, Randy.
Moving on to item number 9, consideration of an intergovernmental agreement number 15433 with the State of Oregon, Oregon Youth Authority for Juvenile Crime Prevention Basic Services and Diversion Services. Matt Tennell, Director, Juvenile Department. Good morning, Matt.
Good morning, Commissioners. So what you've got in front of you is the second of 3 contracts that are going to be coming up for renewal for the juvenile crime prevention dollars that get passed down from the state to the counties. You've already seen and approved the one for individualized services. That's the smallest pot. The one that's still forthcoming is prevention dollars. And this is basic and diversion, which comes through the Oregon Youth Authority. This is the largest chunk of money that gets passed down to the counties. And basically what this is all aimed at, if just as a real short history lesson, I believe this came into law in 1994. Basically what these dollars are aimed at is for the counties to provide services to youth that come into the juvenile justice system in the hope of preventing them from further penetration, from the need to be committed to state custody. And so this is just the biennial renewal of these dollars. I believe the dollar amount's about $5,000 more than it was for last biennium. They always ask us to prepare for cuts to the funding. And so, but it looks like we're getting a little bit more this biennium, and I'm happy to answer questions if anybody has any.
Thank you. Commissioner Bell, would you like to?
I don't have any questions. Thank you for your work as always.
Sure.
Questions? Thanks, Matt.
All right.
No, and I think it's just, reminder that there is a goal at the state level to provide as much service as possible locally, per Matt's comment of trying to keep these kiddos out of the state's custody. Similarly, as we work with our law enforcement and we see more and more work by our courts and expected of probation and parole to keep people local, this is the fits into that philosophy. So we appreciate the work that you do to provide services locally to kiddos to stay in their own community with their existing support systems. I think it's important.
And one tweak to the diversion portion of the dollars that's coming in 2026, historically, to expend those dollars on a youth, they have to have been through the court system. They have to have been adjudicated by the juvenile court. They've expanded the eligibility for any youth that is referred for certain types of offenses. So they're taking away the requirement of being adjudicated as delinquent first before.
Oh, good.
That's
using the money.
great.
So,
That's
yeah.
good.
Yeah, that's really good because if we can keep them from the court system, that's even better.
Very good.
Excellent. Thank you. I would entertain a motion.
Madam Chair, I move approval of an intergovernmental agreement number 15433 with the State of Oregon, Oregon Youth Authority for juvenile crime prevention basic services and diversion services.
I will second that.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, I will call for the vote. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. That motion carries. Thank you,
very
Matt.
much.
Thanks, Matt.
Thanks, Matt.
Okay, item 10, consideration of a recruiting agreement with Centermark Placements to recruit a chief medical officer for the Health and Human Services Department. Online, we should have Marlene Pittman, Administrator, Health and Human Services. Good morning, Marlene.
Good morning. Glad I got my camera to work this morning. I think it's lagging a little behind. Like I'm feeling a little bit today. We had a lot going on yesterday as well. So I appreciate your involvement and letting us be updated as well. So Randy, thanks for that. So today I'm before you to share some information about an agreement that we're looking at to recruit for our chief medical officer or medical director. So we're seeking to replace Dr. Lisa Steffi, who is currently our medical director. She doesn't plan to retire, for those who are listening, right away. This is November of 2026. But this is a specialized search that requires a targeted recruitment with professionals who are experienced in this type of recruitment work. And we know it's going to take some time. But this is why we're looking outside of our current own HR processes, but we'll work closely with our HR department to fill this position. We're starting it now because, again, it can take some time with some of the recruiters we've spoken with. It can be 12 months, 18 months. The last time we looked to recruit, it took us years to find a medical director. Not because it's not a wonderful community to live, but it's limited resources out there. And recruiting to rural areas can be challenging sometimes, as well as looking at pay for positions. So should we secure a successful candidate sooner than Dr. Steffi is prepared to retire, we've got a process for that too. She'll orient and train the new medical director and then return to full-time patient care. And we'll have a strategic plan for transitioning patients. in case people are concerned about that. Anyway, to this end, we engage in a process to secure a business or firm to assist with this targeted search. So I looked at firms in the United States with a focus on companies that serve the West Coast, work with health centers, specifically federally qualified health centers, and those who have a public federally qualified health center like we do in Tillamook County, and who have experience recruiting these C-suite positions or the chief medical officer, CEO, so forth. But with a real focus on experience looking for chief medical officers. So in this research, I identified 4 firms and reached out to them and received responses from 3. I engaged in conversations with their executive teams and leadership staff in these 3 businesses and received proposals from each of those 3 I spoke with. And that included United Health Solutions, Centermark Placements, and Televera. So upon review of my notes from the conversations and the proposals that were submitted, Health and Human Services is proposing working with Centermark Placements. So I'm going to give you a few points of why we made that selection and then have some conversation about that if you'd like. So Centermark started their business in Portland, Oregon a number of years ago, recruiting in places like Central City Concern, Portland Clinic, and others at that time. And they've expanded since the early 2000s to other positions and are currently working in Southern Oregon and the coast for a CEO position, but they've done some other placements there as well. United Health Solutions, in comparison, also works in Oregon and is currently working with entities in Oregon. We have past experience working with them, which was not particularly a satisfactory outcome on our side. And there were some related issues, but I wanted to engage with them and see what things they're working on. So moved on some other comparisons. So the total cost for this recruitment is significant. It's a total cost of $50,000, which for Centermark, which is actually less than some of the other proposals, but not our main consideration. So United Health Solutions is around $53,000 and Televera is about $58,000 for a completed recruitment. So the other factors then that I looked at is, well, what's your cost up front? How do and when do we pay? So Centermark has a upfront cost of $10,000 and the balance is only paid when the position is secured, which is preferred from my side from purposes of securing a candidate that could take some time. One of the proposals with UHC was 30% upfront, which is a little bit more of an investment, and 30% upon signing and 30% upon placement. We don't have detail from the other proposal other than the $58,000. Additionally, sometimes these placements do fall through. So what happens if we get a candidate and they leave fairly shortly after we hire them? All of them have these types of terms included in the agreements that say within a certain time, they'll continue the search for you. But after, say, 6 months, you're kind of on your own, which is still a pretty short time. And Centermark does have an option if we want to continue with them for a discounted recruitment after if a placement falls through. And then last but not least was the question about willingness to work with county HR and our county department, which will have a team of people, including working with our health council and so forth. So Centermark has experience and willingness, and UHC also has some experience and is working with Multnomah County now. Televera doesn't have any experience with working with county government. So those were kind of the factors I considered. And based on that, I'm making the recommendation that we work with Centermark. So the county process, just a quick summary of that. So as we all know, agreements for these types of contracts over $25,000 are reviewed by county council and by our chief administrative officer. Most of those things have been done. Also, in this case, we did reach out to HR to have a conversation about it, and I appreciate having that conversation with Thea. We spoke yesterday about some of her questions that she emailed, and I also followed up with the Centermark director last night and got some more specific response to those, which I sent on to Thea, our HR director, and onto our liaison. Specifically, we wanted a little bit more detail about, well, what happens? How long will you do this recruitment for us? The target is 12 weeks, but they will work with us until a placement is completed. It's not like, oh, we're done with 12 weeks. We took your 10,000, bye. So we wanted to make sure that was really clear. And we wanted some more references specifically associated with Oregon, Pacific Northwest, or close by. And he did provide those along with some additional context if we would like to follow up. They are engaging in a search for the CEO or Chief Executive Officer, also on the Southern Oregon coast here, that's starting up soon. So just wanted to share that context a little bit. So I think all of those steps have been completed, and now it's before you to review and approve if you choose to do so. And we can have a conversation about any questions that you might have. So that's a lot of detail, but it's something that people don't typically see with county human resources and recruitments for positions in the county. So I wanted to share that, and happy to answer any questions or discuss.
Thank you, Marlene. I think that recruiting for medical staff is unique. It is not something that is done easily and quickly. I was actually talking with Eric Swanson from Adventist Health yesterday, and he reminded me that when they survey folks coming out of medical school, there is only 2% of that population coming out of medical school that is willing to work in a community of less than, I believe it's 20,000. And there is 2% is willing to work at 20,000 or above. 1%. When you talk about below 20,000 in population, 1% of med students say, I would consider that. So when we talk about 18 months for this position, we really are looking for the needle in the haystack. And it's not an easy thing. So I think this is a space where it's super important that we engage with the right recruiter to get the right placement. So I appreciate Marlene's work to identify recruiters that are being used. She reached out to her partners in the industry to see who was utilizing recruiters and if they were satisfied, to get this list of 3 to begin to go through our processes needed to get to one that we can work with. So thank you, Marlene, for that work. I appreciate it. And I think just as liaison, I would suggest that this is a need. We've got to have a chief medical officer. It's not something we can operate without, and it's going to take a little time. So questions or comments, commissioners?
I agree that chief medical officer is a very important position, and I'm grateful for Dr. Steffi's service in that position, and also for her ample notice so that we have a long time to recruit for it. And I also agree that it's hard to recruit medical providers to a rural area, and so I'm fully supportive.
I agree with both of you, and it's hard when we have to spend this kind of money for this type of service, but it is needed. As we all know, just recruiting for director positions, never mind a very specialized, highly focused position like this. So.
Right. And I would take this opportunity to remind folks that the general fund does not support our federally qualified health center. A small amount of general fund, I think it's 300,000, goes to public health, which is a different piece of what happens under Health and Human Services. But this clinic is supported by the work that it does, the payments that we receive from Medicaid, as well as a grant that we receive through HRSA that helps support their efforts. But this is not general fund money. As we like to just remind folks, much of what the county does is not supported by general fund. So I would look forward to a motion.
Madam Chair, I move approval of a recruiting agreement with Centermark Placements to recruit a chief medical officer for the Health and Human Services Department.
I second that.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, I will call for the vote. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Thank you, Marlene.
Thank you so much for your time and consideration.
Okay, item 11, consideration of a letter of support to the Oregon State Department of Land Conservation and Development for a Department of Community Development Housing and Planning Assistance Grant. Sarah Absher, Director of Community Development.
Thank you. Good morning, commissioners.
Good morning.
Have a seat. Yes, we have one more coming for future agenda items.
Okay.
I reached out to Commissioner Scar. As you know, we are on the home stretch for adoption and implementation of the first phase of Senate Bill 406. So we've been working with our cities to get all of our residential zoning codes updated. The second piece of Senate Bill 406, and we visited about this a little bit at the hearing the other night, are the housing production strategies and the housing capacity analysis. Those are required under Senate Bill 406 for the county and cities to do and do them every so often. In that Senate bill, we have an obligation to get this second phase of work done by June 2027. And so in working with the cities, what we have agreed is that a regional approach to continue to get this work done, that collaborative approach to help address our county's housing needs, is the best approach for all of us. DLCD has technical assistance money available to help us cover the cost to hire a consulting team to work with the department, the commissioner's office, the housing commission, and our cities to develop those housing production strategies and that housing capacity analysis as this next phase. Because the legislature passed Senate Bill 406, we actually become a priority area for funding for technical assistance for our housing efforts through the state, which is a great thing. The housing production strategies, we have a couple in place already that we have developed independently over the last couple of years that have been very effective. One being the Housing Production Solutions Fund, which is our local county grant process. The other one is the property tax exemption process. And we have already seen those very well utilized to help projects get to the finish line. The development of the housing production strategies will continue that work. So working with a team of consultants, working with the Housing Commission, our city partners, looking at strategies for things like system development charges, other financing and loan opportunities, additional code audits. I mean, DLCD has a list of housing production strategies that is multiple pages. We've done some work with the Housing Commission to vet some of those out and identify them. But now, because of the work and our commitment to addressing our housing needs through that legislative action, we got to have a real plan in place. So money would be to support that. And then also the housing capacity analysis, which will look at the county, region-wide, and identify where we need additional buildable lands. So Commissioner Fournier, our conversations about why can't we use this land to build? This housing capacity analysis is going to help us get to that place to potentially pull those properties in for development in the future. So it's basically like a buildable lands inventory. There's some other pieces to it. So DLCD is requiring two things. We need a letter of commitment saying, yes, this isn't just the community development director asking for this money to do this work. The commissioners, the county support this work, which was why I reached out to Commissioner Scar. And then following grant award, we'll work on IGAs with the cities because we're going to need that to continue to do this work together. So it's a letter of support affirming our work, where we would like to go next. And then my grant is due August 4th, and I'm asking for $300,000 to do this work. The more money we can get, the less we have to take out of the housing fund that we know is supposed to be used for other really important housing related things. So this letter will go with the grant application that I actually hope to get in by Friday because I don't want to wait till the last minute.
Perfect. Thank you, Sarah. Yeah, I'm excited that we're ready, just about ready to move to phase 2 of Senate Bill 408. And I think the housing production strategies being led by the county is a great opportunity for our cities who are small, which is, you know, they become concerned about the extra body of work. And so for us to be able to say, we're here to support you in that, certainly we won't, ask them to do things they don't agree to, but to, again, provide that support. And this grant will provide the consultants through DLCD, which is how Senate Bill 406 Phase 1 was done, was that the consultants actually worked very closely with the cities to help and support them in their piece of the work, because we do not want to burden our cities. We want to support them. So I look forward to hopefully us receiving this grant and being able to continue that support for our cities as we move forward. Questions and comments, commissioners?
I support this also, and I'm grateful that those funds are available. And for folks who are watching or listening, will you please just give a brief recap of Senate Bill 406?
Yeah, happy to do so. Senate Bill 406 was a bill requested by the county during the full legislative session in 2023. And what essentially it asked for was to include Tillamook County and its cities into a larger housing program of housing code requirements that fell under House Bill 2001. House Bill 2001 with middle code housing requirement updates is focused more on cities. But what we felt was we have an opportunity to remove barriers to housing production and housing permitting by pulling these middle housing types, which are your accessory dwelling units. It's a single family dwelling, duplex, triplex, fourplex, small development cottage clusters, and get that directive from the state and that support from the state to put those into our development code programs as outright permitted uses, meaning clear and objective standards, faster permitting, greater predictability, consistency statewide with how those projects are reviewed and permitted in terms of development standards. So it was a pretty bold step for the county to take the lead on getting Senate Bill 406 with those mandated code changes for development and housing types in our county. If you recall when we talked about that a few years ago, apartments aren't the solution everywhere, right? And if you look at the character of our communities and that middle to smaller scale development, middle housing options really better align with our communities and can be fast tracked for permitting without those conditional uses and those public hearings to help us get housing units on the ground.
Thank you.
And I was looking through our housing studies, kind of preparing. I'm going to go to Manzanita on the 5th for their community hearing and conversation about this. Then in our 2017 is when the study came out, started in 2015. But that 2017 housing study identified the addition of middle housing as, I think, one of the top 3 priorities for Tillamook County for moving the dial. So I think it's exciting that we are at that point where we have been able to get that work done, and that we are, have checked, I believe, the top 3 boxes from the recommendations of that housing study, and are starting to see some things happen. So exciting.
And those orders for the for those code changes for the county will come to you after Fair Week. So I'm working on those with council now. So you're going to see them in a couple of weeks.
Perfect.
We've spoken a lot about this, so I'm just very supportive. I'm excited about moving into this next chapter. I think this is a great tool, and I'm 100% agree with this.
Perfect. All right. I would entertain a motion.
Madam Chair, I move approval of a letter of support to the Oregon State Department of Land Conservation and Development for a Department of Community Development Housing and Planning Assistance Grant.
I second that.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, I will call for the vote. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Thank you. Okay, moving on to consideration of a State of Oregon Building Codes Division Building Evaluation Support Master Agreement, PO-44000-000-39380. Sarah Absher.
Thank you, commissioners. I'm actually going to turn the floor over to Chris Corliss. You met him a short while ago. He is helping lead up the building division and community development. And we are very excited about this opportunity and partnership with cities and counties statewide through the building code division. So why don't you go ahead and take him and explain what we're doing today?
Good morning.
Thing.
Yes, we're very excited about this BESA agreement or a building evaluation support agreement. So essentially what it is, it's sponsored by Oregon Building Codes Division as a master agreement with jurisdictions, both cities and counties that enter into this agreement for support. And the type of support that they're talking about is plan review support, inspection report, and building official services. It's important to us as a rural county because we don't always have all the resources here. We currently partner with Claire Company and we've used Northwest Code Pros in the past, and they are great partners for the county. However, they are overworked as well, and they may not always have all the specific, inspection types and plan reviewers that we may need or be able to process them in the fastest time possible. And so what this agreement allows us to do is reach out to other partner jurisdictions and request, would you be able to complete this plan review or this particular inspection for us? Or, if we needed to, get assistance with any kind of building official services. One of the other things that's not outlined in here, but my understanding is also in there, is going to be if we need technical assistance from another jurisdiction. If we have somebody in-house that could complete a plan review, but they're just unsure of this particular aspect of it, we'd be able to reach out to them, which would save us money as well, because we'd just be being billed on an hourly rate for that service. Also, this does save us money overall compared to using our current third-party partners. And the hourly rate is about 56% of what we're currently paying. And it's not just about what these people can do for Tillamook County, right? This is about what we can do for our neighboring jurisdictions. I mean, this is exciting for everyone in the fact that, if our, neighbors or another jurisdiction says, hey, we need inspection coverage for these 3 days, could you help us out? Absolutely. If we have the availability in our inspection schedule or, plan reviews. Currently, there are 26 organizations in Oregon jurisdictions that are participating in this program. If Tillamook is accepted in, we'd be number 27. 10 counties, including 3 of our neighboring counties, are participating, and those are Lincoln, Yamhill, and Polk County. So we have some neighbors that we have good relationships with already that we'd be able to kind of use this for. But there's also large jurisdictions involved in this as well. It's not just small counties or small cities. We have the city of Portland, the city of Eugene, we have Beaverton, and we also have Woodburn. And what that brings to the table is, just the expertise that we may not have. We're seeing a lot of stuff with Amazon coming in here and hopefully getting some more projects out at the port, and we have the hospital. Some of the stuff that we may not have all the expertise for, we just have the ability to reach out for them. They deal with a lot of this stuff all the time. As many of you may know, the city of Portland has been laying off some of their building staff because they just do not have the current volume of work that they previously had. One thing about this, it would help support people in the building industry. If we can send another jurisdiction that's struggling to maintain, keeping their people on staff work, I mean, that would be great. And then we're getting the expertise that comes from the years that they have, put into this program. So that's kind of where we're at. I think it'll be a good program for our county and all of our neighbors and the partnering people in Oregon. And it doesn't seem like there's any real downside. This agreement would go till June 30th of 2036. And then they'll have another renewal process, it sounds like. If at any time we decide that we no longer want to be part of the program, we put in writing with a 30-day notice. It doesn't seem like there's any real downsides to this program. Obviously, if we didn't have the ability to extend help to another neighboring jurisdiction, we would just, let them know that, and we're available hopefully in the future when we have more staffing. So,
Wonderful. Thank you. Questions, commissioners?
I'm excited about this. I think it's great. I think the plan is to expedite plan reviews, commercial and residential, which I think, which is, people really want that. I hear a lot about that, even though I'm not the liaison.
We all do.
Yeah. And I think that this is a great way of adding capacity without the county incurring a huge cost. So I think this is great for our plan of jumpstarting housing development. So super in favor of this and supportive.
As am I. That seems like a great opportunity and certainly a good price point. So, I think the county has been looking for a solution to the lack of capacity for a long time. So I think this is wonderful.
Yeah, no, I agree. I know we have some agreements in Public Works that are similar, cross-governmental, like we had, I think the county, Marion County was here striping our roads just a couple of weeks ago. I followed them down Third Street. But it's sometimes these intergovernmental ones are really fantastic because, as you said, our ebbs and flows do not all occur at the same time. So it does allow both us to maintain staff should we have an ebb and to draw from other communities when we have a flow. So I think that sounds fantastic. Thank you for bringing this forward. I would entertain a motion.
Madam Chair, I move approval of a State of Oregon Building Codes Division Building Evaluation Support Master Agreement number PO-44000-0003930.
I'd second that.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, I will call for the vote. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Okay, consideration of an order in the matter of amending the fee schedule for the building division of the Department of Community Development. Sarah and or Chris.
Thank you. So I can start this, and then please feel free to weigh in. A couple of weeks ago, we had a board briefing, talked about reevaluation of the department's permitting fees. This is something, as you know, we've talked about extensively over this last year during budget committee proceedings and those great meetings that we held monthly for quite some time. So following that process, we have gone through and carefully evaluated our fees. So you have a couple of orders before you. I did one memorandum for all three fee division proposals, but just focusing on the building, the fees are at a 3% increase. There are a few that you received in a previous highlighted version that were increased, updated, or added. They were increased because we have determined that our cost of time to do the work did not appropriately match the fee that we were collecting before. And then there were fee changes, either additions or adjustments that were required by the State of Oregon Building Codes Division. And so I think there was only just a handful of those throughout the updated fee schedule. The department went through the state required process to give notice to the Building Codes Division of the fee schedule with a memorandum. Those were posted within their statutory time frame through that state department. And before you today is that final product that shows those fee increases. And if you support these increases, then we propose that they go into effect September 1st. We would like to put some signs on the door and on our website to make sure our regular customers are aware of these fee increases before they go into effect. And all of the work on the back end through the state building codes division has already been done. So we are at the home stretch. Waiting for approval if you choose to give us that.
Thank you. And Sarah, just as a reminder, the Buildings Division is not supported as a general fund department, correct? This is
correct.
this is a department that is self-supporting. And so the increase of the fees, in fact, is simply what keeps the department turning at the same level and speed that it is now.
That is correct. And that is to sustain current levels of staffing and service. As Chris mentioned earlier, some of our city and county partners are laying off, and like them, we are fee supported. So if we don't have the revenue, we can't have the staffing and the services. So it is imperative that we closely watch these fees and keep them in line with our services and the cost of doing business to ensure longevity purposes, we can sustain what we have today.
Thank you. Commissioners, questions and comments?
I appreciated your presentation to us a couple weeks ago. It made sense. It's, I can't think of the word that I'm looking for, but the increases were logical and it just makes sense to me.
Thank you.
I agree with you, even though you couldn't think of the word.
Thank you.
Did you have a word? Okay. All right. I would entertain a motion.
Madam Chair, I move approval of order number 25-047 in the matter of amending the fee schedule for the building division of the Department of Community Development.
Second that.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, I will call for the vote. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. Motion carries. Item 14 is consideration of an order in the matter of amending the fee schedule for the planning division of the Department of Community Development. Sarah Absher.
Thank you. The planning division, the services provided by the planning division are state mandated, just like building codes. However, one of the biggest differences is that the planning division is general fund supported. So like this last year, again, working with the budget committee, those proceedings, the Department of Community Development is almost self-sustaining. We ask for roughly about $250,000 from the general fund to support existing services and staff level. The lion's share of that $250,000 goes to the planning division. In reevaluating the fees, and again, really appreciate the conversation at the board briefing. Most of our fees have a nominal increase. There are a few that have gone up. I would say notably, those reasons and the analysis of those different types of land use review processes is outlined in that memorandum. And I appreciate your request for additional information because I was thinking as I was writing this, I've never actually broke it down this way. Not all land use applications are treated equally. They don't all take the same amount of time. Some are incredibly complex. We have the buy-up, right? So, and even though we took a fourth door approach, there's still additional costs that are being incurred by review of those land use applications. And as I'd shared in my memorandum, we don't get to decide what those processes look like. Those processes for each type of land use review application review is mandated by state law. And so sometimes we have to publish, sometimes we have to give extensive notice. With that, I will say, there's also, I kind of pulled out that statutory requirement that says the average cost, or you can do an hourly rate. The department has never pursued an hourly rate approach. We have always gone with the average cost of processing and reviewing a land use application. In my opinion, I think that is more appropriate and fair to customers overall because, as you know, quickly land use review processes, complex, they spiral into complexity and additional time, even when we don't anticipate it. And the idea of taking a deposit and then giving the applicant, the customer, this huge bill at the end of the process and say, I'll give you your decision once you give me the rest of the money. I just don't think that's a good way to do business. So taking the average cost to me is what is most equitable and in terms of customer service. The bottom line is that all of our costs are going up. Our average cost to notice hearings or applications in the newspaper, which we are so grateful to have a newspaper, but each of those alone are several $100s. And again, it's because of that state mandated language, that special language we have to use in everything that we do. With that, with staffing costs, typically when I look at what it costs to do an application, it can be anywhere from $75 to $250 an hour. Thompson Springs, which was one of the most recent cases you're aware of, just to give you an idea, the staff time just to write the staff report, not to do anything else, was over $2,000. The hearing proceedings for one night were over $1,500 because by the time you have all of the staff there, just those two things for that project, it starts adding up quickly. You do not count for every meeting that we have in those fees. Oftentimes we meet with applicants, we meet with our city partners, we meet with Public Works, we meet with the neighbors. And the time that those meetings take far exceed the cost of an application fee. However, I do feel that some of that work is something we should just be doing anyway. So, looking at these fees, it is that average cost. All of those factors are taken into consideration and also laid those out in my memo. So I'm happy if you have any specific questions about the fee increases for planning. Happy to answer those, but just kind of in a nutshell.
Thank you, Sarah. Appreciate that. Commissioners, other questions or comments?
Oh, I wanted to say thank you for your work on this. I appreciate it. I appreciated our conversation a couple of weeks ago. It's important that the public understands that we have to generate revenue sufficient to provide the service, that the department isn't making any money on these fees. We're trying to find the baseline. You are trying to find the baseline of what it actually costs so that we can just provide the service because to your point, the service is mandated by the state. So there has to be money to pay for that. So I asked a couple weeks ago that we find the baseline, establish the baseline, and then for our community partners, for people who are doing projects and building things here, they'll be able to anticipate an incremental increase over time rather than big jumps that are harder to explain. So this is our baseline, and I'm grateful for your work.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Appreciate it.
I would just concur with that.
Okay, excellent. I would be happy to entertain a motion.
Madam Chair, I move approval of order number 25-048 in the matter of amending the fee schedule for the Planning Division of the Department of Community Development.
I second that.
I have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, I will call for the vote. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Item 15, consideration of an order in the matter of amending the fee schedule for on-site wastewater treatment services in the Sanitation Division of the Department of Community Development. Sarah Absher and Chris Kiola. Good morning.
Thank you, Commissioners.
Good morning.
Good morning. I'm going to go ahead and turn the fee schedule presentation over to Chris, just noting on the order that along with building and planning, that these fees would also, if adopted, would go into effect September 1st.
Same chair, different Chris.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's Chris Day.
Right, makes it easy.
Yes.
DEQ allows each county agent to set fees as long as it's a formula that they've come up with, that we cover our costs and the time that it takes to do each individual type of fee. We did that quite a few years ago. And so we have a base that we set all of our fees on. And this year, we're just asking for a 3% increase in the fees. The last time we did that was in 2020 or 2021. So the onsite fees, it's just a flat 3% increase straight across. The DEQ surcharge per permit isn't changing, nor is the planning fee. So it's just a simple 3% increase. The average increase in each fee is probably around $15 to $20. The highest one went up, I think, $40. But it's a pretty straightforward increase to that fee.
Thank you. Questions, comments?
I agree that it's straightforward, so thank you.
I agree too. Nobody likes the increase in fees, but it's something we haven't done for a long time and we need the baseline. And I think that we're gonna have that. We won't have to do large jumps in the future, hopefully.
Agreed. And this is also a department that does receive some general fund. Is that correct? So of that 250,000 that comes into your department, some of it goes to planning and some of it goes to sanitation. But in general, again, the intent is to get as much cost recovery as we can so that we can maintain the staffing levels that we have.
Mhm.
All right, I would be happy to entertain a motion.
Madam Chair, I move approval of order number 25-049 in the matter of amending the fee schedule for on-site water treatment services in the Sanitation Division of the Department of Community Development.
I second that.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, I will call for the vote. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Thank you. Thank you
Thank
all for
you.
being here this morning.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on to item 16, consideration of a memorandum of agreement with Trout Unlimited, Inc. for project management of the Myrtle Creek Salmon Superhighway Fish Passage Restoration Project and the Federal Highway Administration Culvert Aquatic Organism Passage Program Grant. Chris Laity, Public Works.
Yeah.
Good morning, Chris.
Good morning, also known as Chris number 3.
Right? Again, it makes it easy. If we just say, hi, Chris, we're like almost assured to get it right.
Right, we won't get it. So we have a number of projects that fall under the umbrella of the Salmon Superhighway, and that allows us to go after a lot of grant money. Often these culvert to bridge projects, you've seen them before. They take a substantial amount of money to build a bridge. They're not inexpensive. So for the Myrtle Creek project, there's a variety of funding sources for that, and Trout Unlimited manages all the grants and the project manager. Farline Bridge is actually under a contract with Trout Unlimited to build the county bridge, the Myrtle Creek Bridge. We don't actually own that contract. The construction of, let my cursor go. Sorry about that. The construction of the Myrtle Creek Bridge has several funding sources. Trout Unlimited applied for and received a U.S. Fish Wildlife Service bipartisan infrastructure grant for $500,000. Oregon Department of Fish and Wildlife private forest accord money for $740,000. We received a previous NOAA congressionally directed funding, and that portion of that would be $484,000 that would be applied to that. County also applied for a federal highway grant, and we received $617,600. All that is needed in order to build a bridge. This is a great project. The county has no match money into it because the local requirement is being funded through ODFW. So we're essentially building a bridge for free. The gas tax is our primary funding source, and it no longer even pays for our base salaries. So without additional funding, we just couldn't do these type of things. This allows us to weather some of the storm events. Number one issue is culvert blowouts, as we saw in Miami. These are all failing culverts that are in bad shape, highly susceptible to storm damage and culvert blowouts. So building a bridge for free is always a good thing. This agreement essentially allows us to receive money from Federal Highway and direct it to Trout Unlimited, who is paying for the construction of the Myrtle Creek Bridge. So essentially, we're serving as a pass-through in order to fund a project that has received significant support from everywhere else, from everybody else.
Thank you, Chris. Questions or comments, commissioners?
You know how much I love these kind of projects. I love the effort you put into getting these grants and the collaboration with the Salmon Superhighway and Trout Unlimited. It's just amazing that we have these groups coming together and funding these type of projects. So thank you, Chris.
Agreed. Thank you, Chris, for doing such a good job at developing these partnerships and these relationships, because to your point and my fellow commissioners, we simply could not afford to build these bridges without these partnerships. And so we're very fortunate to have you in this role and to have those partnerships.
I agree with my colleagues. There's nothing better than a free bridge. All we're paying for is your time. So it's the one piece that keeps it from being totally free. But we absolutely appreciate the work to get that money together. I would entertain a motion.
Madam Chair, I move approval of a memorandum of agreement with Trout Unlimited, Inc. for project management of the Myrtle Creek Salmon Superhighway Fish Passage Restoration Project and the Federal Highway Administration Culvert Aquatic Organism Passage Program Grant.
I second that.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, I will call for the vote. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Hi.
Aye. Motion carries. Consideration of a contract for goods with Legacy Contracting, Inc. for the Modular Panel Bridge Project. Chris.
So we talked about this last week in the notice of intent to award. This allows us to, when we do have a culvert blowout, allows us to be retroactive, but we're proactive in the Myrtle Creek. This allows us to be highly mobile, retroactive to a disaster after the culvert blows out. This is a FEMA grant funded project. In order for us to span 80 feet, it's a very difficult range for us to do. This allows us to build a bridge 10 feet at a time. So that allows us to get up to 80 feet. The total cost in this $272,905. That is reimbursed 75% is reimbursed from FEMA. So essentially we are building a bridge for $75,000 or less than $1,000 per foot, which is fabulous. Coupled with the two signals that are on the Sand Lake Slide project, when that is built, Federal Highway paid 100% for those signals. Those are currently county owned. And when that frees up, those two signals would be assigned to this modular panel bridge. It would be a single lane bridge. So essentially, we're building a bridge with signals for $70,000 when it's all said and done.
Wonderful. Thank you. Comments?
We all enjoyed this presentation about the modular bridge last time. And just to remind folks that your property taxes don't pay for these types of things. So anytime Chris can find us these grants and money is tremendously helpful to help improve our county roads and bridges and culverts. So thanks again, Chris. Highly supportive of this.
Agreed.
As am I.
All right. I would entertain a motion.
Madam Chair, I move approval of a contract for goods with Legacy Contracting, Inc. for the modular panel bridge project.
I second that.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, I will call for the vote. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. Motion carries. One more for Chris. Consideration of a contract for goods with Buzzards Equipment for a 2017 Kenworth T270 service truck for the Public Works Department.
So Public Works owns several large vehicles, and they do need to be serviced, and sometimes we need to service them out in the field. Our current service truck is 1998, way beyond its useful life, but because these are the mechanic service trucks, that is significant to, we are able to keep that on the road because the mechanics that we have are essentially wizards. They do a fabulous job with that. This particular truck is used. We've been searching for a long time to find something that is applicable to our use, meets our needs, because this is actually running an engine that is oftentimes seen in the semi trucks. This has a fair amount of life left in it. It's got 317,000 miles, but it's very likely that this could go up to 1 million miles. Again, we're talking about semi truck engine as opposed to your regular gas engine. So a diesel powered vehicle. This one also has a side benefit where we could bring that service truck that has a crane mounted to it that we can bring into our shop that does not have a crane, or our overhead crane is limited in tons. We can actually bring this into our shop and lift engines out of vehicles. So it's serving multiple purposes. It does have a welding and some air pneumatic pumps on it. So that really allows us. Again, we oftentimes will buy from a wide variety of sources. We found this on the private market. We did try to find other things that would meet our needs, went through the formal process. We're very fortunate with Buzzards Equipment because in that private market, they want cash up front, and it's very difficult to go through our long contracting process, which is, it's an ODOT, or excuse me, it's a state of Oregon requirement for the dollar amount. So we were lucky with a contractor that could essentially allow us to go through this process. So even though it's got 317,000 miles on it, we should be able to expect over 1 million miles with this piece of equipment because it's diesel and it matches, the engine is essentially a semi-truck engine.
Thank you. Questions or comments, commissioners?
Again, I appreciate the work you did on finding these things. People need to realize if you take your car to a mechanic, how much it costs to do that. The fact that we have our own staff working on these things, keeping them going. I mean, a 30-year-old truck, we always joke about this, but we keep our vehicles for a long time, and it is thanks to the work of the mechanics that we have. So I like giving them the proper tool for the job, which is going to help us fix all of our other gear, including the old stuff. So, supportive.
I am fully supportive.
As am I.
Madam Chair, I move approval of a contract for goods with Buzzards Equipment for a 2017 Kenworth T270 service truck for the Public Works Department.
I second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Excuse me. Hearing none, I will call for the vote. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. Motion carries. All right. 19. Consideration and order in the matter of the reappointment of a member to the Tillamook County Fair Board. Commissioner Mary Faith Bell.
Thank you. I'm looking at the board to see if Cami Von Segern is on today, but I don't see her name.
I do not either.
Okay, well, I'm happy to carry this. I just wanted to give Cami the opportunity to chime in if she was with us. Bob Larson is willing and qualified to be reappointed, luckily for the Fair Board, because Bob does a great job. And I wish I remembered for how long, for how many terms. This is at least his third term, but it might be longer because he was on when I became the Fair Liaison in 2019. So Bob's currently the chair. He is passionate about the fair. He has a wealth of knowledge and experience. He's a terrific leader. He's a great, he does a great job being supportive and interacting with the fair director, Cami Von Segern. He's just all around a fabulous asset, and we're lucky to have him.
And I think we should thank Carmen for letting him do it again. and
Yes,
again and
indeed.
again. Again.
Indeed. Yes.
You can't go to the fair without seeing Bob walking around and just working. Like I said, that board is incredible. All those volunteers. So very excited he's willing to do it again, and Carmen is willing to let him.
Agreed on all accounts, and he's always got that huge smile on his face. He's just, yeah, so we appreciate him.
All right, Madam Chair, I move approval of order number 25-050 in the matter of the reappointment of Bob Larson to the Tillamook County Fair Board.
I second that.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, I will call for the vote. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Right.
Aye. Motion carries. Item number 20, consideration of a client creditor agency agreement with Credits Incorporated for collection services for the Tillamook County Justice Court, the Honorable Ryan Cannell, Justice Court Judge. Good morning, Ryan.
Good morning, everyone. If it makes it easier, you guys can just call me Chris. That'll speed things up.
Perfect.
Credits is the current collection agency that we use. We've used them forever. This is just an updated contract. It doesn't actually change really any of the terms and conditions. It just more fills out things like indemnification. Originally, with the new contract, they were requesting the ability to charge us cancellation fees. We talked to them and got that removed because that wasn't anything that we were interested in doing. So that's now been removed. We did look at some contracts for some other companies. They didn't work for us because of the way they did their fee structures. The math didn't math, and we would have situations where we would actually end up collecting below the judgment amounts. And so we've decided to stick with Credits. I guess I can answer any questions.
Thank you. Any questions, commissioners?
Not for me.
And not for me.
And not for me. Unnecessary service. Thank you, Judge. I would consider a motion.
Madam Chair, I move approval of a client creditor agency agreement with Credits Incorporated for collection services for the Tillamook County Justice Court.
I second that.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, I will call for the vote. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Hi.
Aye. Motion carries. Thank you, Judge.
Thank you, Chris.
Thank you.
Commissioners, are there any board concerns today?
No concerns, but I would like to again invite the public to join us tomorrow, Thursday, July 31st at Jandy Acres Nursery from 2 to 4 p.m. for Dr. Paul Bitlinski's retirement party.
Wonderful. Thank you. Commissioner?
I have nothing.
None for me today. We do have an executive session following this meeting. I'm going to go ahead and read our announcements, as we do not expect to come out and make any public decisions following the executive session. So the commissioners will hold a board briefing on Wednesday, July 30th, 2025 at 2 p.m. to discuss weekly commissioner updates. The meeting will be held in the Board of Commissioners Meeting Room 106 in the Tillamook County Courthouse, 201 Laurel Avenue, Tillamook. The teleconference number is 1-971-254-3149, conference ID 866-914-607#. There is no leadership team meeting scheduled for Monday, August 4th, 2025 at 9 a.m. The next leadership team meeting will be held on Monday, September 8th, 2025 at 9 a.m. There is no board meeting or board briefing scheduled on Wednesday, August 6th, 2025. The commissioners will be attending and participating in events at the Tillamook County Fair. Okay, we are going to recess this into executive session pursuant to,
4S 190, 266-020, and that's to consult with people that you have designated to conduct real property negotiations on your behalf.
all right, thank you. So we will go ahead and recess this meeting at 10:34 a.m.
I think
We're ready? Okay, we will return to the board meeting at 11:30 and we will adjourn this board meeting at 11:30.